On August 12, 2025, Austin, Texas, was rocked by a sudden act of violence at a busy shopping center. What started as a normal afternoon at a Target parking lot turned into chaos when a lone gunman began a random shooting spree. The victims were everyday people, an employee, a family out shopping, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. News of the attack spread quickly, leaving the city in shock and disbelief. The randomness of the violence shattered Austin's sense of safety. As we recount the events, we remember the victims and the pain inflicted on their families and community. We'll walk through the timeline, the people affected, and the law enforcement response. This is a story of tragedy, but also of a community's resilience and the pursuit of justice. The suspect at the center of this case was identified as 32-year-old Ethan Nieneker, a name that, until now, was unfamiliar to most people in Austin and beyond. His sudden emergence into the public eye has left many searching for answers about who he is and what led to this tragic series of events. Before this incident, Nieneker lived a life largely in the shadows, blending into the background of everyday society. He was previously unknown to the public, with no significant criminal record or public presence that would have drawn attention. According to law enforcement officials, Nieneker acted alone in the events that have shocked the community. He now faces a series of serious charges, including capital murder, as authorities work to piece together the full story of what happened and why. Investigators have revealed that Nieneker's background includes a documented history of mental health struggles. This revelation has sparked renewed debate about the effectiveness of mental health support systems, and whether more could have been done to intervene before tragedy struck. It raises difficult questions about how society identifies and helps those who are struggling and whether warning signs were missed along the way. While it's important to be clear that mental health issues do not excuse violent actions, Nieneker's case highlights the complex intersection of personal struggle and public safety. It forces us to look deeper at the societal challenges that can sometimes go unnoticed until it's too late. Nieneker is now charged with the following serious offenses: capital murder by terror threat, a charge that carries the most severe penalties under Texas law and reflects the gravity of the alleged crime. Capital murder of a child under 10, a heartbreaking accusation that has sent shockwaves through the community, and first-degree murder, each count adding to the weight of the case against him. These charges not only reflect the severity of the alleged crimes, but also the deep pain and loss experienced by the victims' families and the wider community. The emotional impact is profound, and the scars will last for years to come. As the legal process unfolds, Nieneker's fate will ultimately be decided in a court of law. But for now, the community is left grappling with shock, confusion, and a desperate search for understanding in the aftermath of violence. This case forces us all to confront uncomfortable truths about the realities of violence, the gaps in our mental health care system, and the ways in which individuals can slip through the cracks. The path to healing for Austin begins with a willingness to understand every aspect of this tragedy, from the failures that may have contributed to it to the resilience of those left behind. Only by facing these hard questions can the community hope to move forward. For the city of Austin, the grief and the questions will linger long after the headlines fade, serving as a somber reminder of the work still to be done. The violence began at exactly 2:15 p.m., a moment that would forever change the lives of many in the community. On a seemingly ordinary afternoon, the Target parking lot on Research Boulevard became the scene of chaos and heartbreak. The first victim was 24-year-old Hector Leopoldo Martinez Machuca, a dedicated Target employee. Hector was outside, diligently gathering shopping carts, performing a routine task he had done countless times before. Suddenly, without any warning or provocation, Ethan Nieneker approached and opened fire. The attack was random, senseless, and left no time for Hector to react or seek cover. The sharp, terrifying sound of gunfire shattered the afternoon calm. Shoppers and employees alike were thrown into panic, running for their lives, ducking behind cars, and frantically dialing 911 for help. In the chaos, Nieneker fired at a black Jeep as it tried to speed away, further escalating the fear and confusion. The parking lot, once filled with the everyday bustle of shoppers, was now a scene of terror. His actions made it clear that anyone in his path was at risk. The intent to harm was unmistakable, and the sense of safety in this public space was shattered in an instant. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, rushing to Hector's side and doing everything they could to save him. Despite their rapid and determined efforts, Hector's injuries were too severe. He was pronounced dead less than an hour later, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. Hector was more than just an employee. He was a son, a friend, and a young man with dreams and ambitions. His life, full of promise, was stolen in a senseless act of violence. His death marked the first devastating loss of the day, a tragedy that would ripple through the community and touch the hearts of all who knew him. In the aftermath, the community came together in mourning. Co-workers, friends, and neighbors gathered to remember Hector, holding vigils and supporting one another through the shock and sorrow. The tragedy left his loved ones and colleagues in deep grief, struggling to comprehend the loss of a bright, hard-working young man whose life was cut short far too soon. After shooting Hector, Nieneker's rampage showed no sign of stopping. The night was pierced by sirens and flashing lights as chaos unfolded across the city. The sense of safety that once blanketed the community was shattered in an instant, replaced by fear and confusion. Nieneker's next target was the Chow family, who were simply sitting in their gray Toyota 4Runner, unaware of the danger approaching. Inside the vehicle were 65-year-old Adam Chow, his devoted wife, and their 4-year-old granddaughter, enjoying what should have been a peaceful evening together. Without warning, Nieneker approached the SUV and fired through the window, striking Adam Chow in the driver's seat. The attack was sudden and merciless, and Adam was killed instantly, leaving his family in shock and terror. The violence didn't stop there. Nieneker turned his weapon toward the back seat, where the young granddaughter sat in her car seat, and fired again. The innocent child was struck, her life forever changed in a matter of seconds. In the chaos and confusion, Mrs. Chow desperately tried to shield her granddaughter, her instincts kicking in as she fought to protect the little girl. But Nieneker showed no mercy. He assaulted Mrs. Chow, pushing her violently out of the car and onto the pavement. With the family wounded and helpless, Nieneker climbed into the driver's seat and stole their vehicle. He sped away from the scene, leaving behind a trail of devastation and heartbreak that would ripple through the community. What began as a simple family outing, a moment of togetherness and joy, was transformed into a nightmare in the blink of an eye. The Chow family's world was turned upside down, their lives forever altered by senseless violence. In a single, horrifying moment, 3 generations of a family were torn apart. The violence shattered not only their lives, but also the sense of security for everyone who heard their story. The tragedy of the Chow family quickly became the heart of Austin's collective grief. Vigils were held, and the community gathered to mourn the loss and support the survivors, struggling to make sense of the senseless. The attack on a child and her grandparents was almost too painful to comprehend. Toys left behind in the car and drawings clutched in trembling hands became haunting reminders of innocence lost. First responders and bystanders alike were left shaken by the horror they witnessed. The parking lot, once a place of routine errands, was now marked by grief and trauma. The city of Austin would never forget what happened in that parking lot. The memory of the Chow family's tragedy would linger, a somber reminder of how quickly lives can be changed forever. The loss of the 4-year-old girl is the most heartbreaking part of this tragedy. She was simply spending time with her grandparents, unaware of the danger. Nieneker's bullet ended her life in an instant, despite her grandmother's desperate efforts to save her. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but it was too late. Her death, pronounced at the scene, shook the entire city. The child's name remains private, but her story touched hearts across Austin and beyond. Her innocence and promise were stolen in a senseless act of violence. The community mourns a loss that words cannot fully express. After stealing the Chow family's SUV, Nieneker sped onto the Mopac Expressway, one of Austin's busiest highways. His escape was reckless, endangering countless lives. On the expressway, he tried to carjack a water truck, assaulting the driver. Unable to drive the truck, Nieneker chased another man on foot, his aggression escalating. Witnesses captured the chaos on video, highlighting the suspect's unpredictability. Failing to steal the truck, he returned to the stolen SUV and fled again. This brief episode added to the city's fear and confusion. Law enforcement now had more information to track him down. The spree was far from over, but police were closing in. The city braced for what would come next. News of the shooting spread rapidly, plunging Austin into fear and disbelief. Schools and businesses went into lockdown as the city tried to protect its residents. The randomness of the attack left everyone feeling vulnerable. The victims, a young worker, a grandfather, and a child, could have been anyone. Grief swept through the community as details emerged. Vigils and memorials appeared, uniting people in sorrow and support. The tragedy sparked urgent conversations about public safety and mental health. Austin's sense of security was shattered, but its compassion endured. The city began the long process of healing, determined not to be defined by this dark day. The memory of the victims would guide Austin forward. From the first 911 calls, Austin police and emergency services sprang into action. Officers arrived at the target within minutes, securing the scene and aiding victims. The incident quickly became a citywide emergency, involving multiple agencies. Police established a perimeter, gathered witness accounts, and broadcast the suspect's description. Coordination between departments was crucial as the suspect moved through the city. Detectives meticulously collected evidence and pieced together the timeline. Public safety alerts were issued, balancing information with the need to prevent panic. Officers and counselors supported traumatized witnesses and grieving families. Chief Lisa Davis assured the public that every resource was being used to find the suspect. The professionalism of law enforcement was vital in managing the crisis and pursuing justice. The manhunt for Ethan Nieneker ended later that day in South Austin. Police tracked the stolen SUV and cornered the suspect on Casa Drive. Nieneker was arrested without further violence, bringing his rampage to an end. Relief swept through Austin, but the grief remained. The arrest marked the start of the legal process and the community's journey toward healing. For the victims' families, justice was only a small comfort amid immense loss. August 12, 2025, will be remembered as one of Austin's darkest days. Yet, the city's unity and the swift police response showed its enduring strength.